Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Binamra Thapa, and in this video, it's like a tutorial video where I'll be doing some CRUD operations and also explaining you guys what each and every step does, and also you guys can see and learn how to do CRUD operations on ASP.NET Core. We're gonna create a basic simple applications, or one application by the way, and that application will probably be a Node application. So let me bring our drawing over here. So before I go ahead and we start anything, let's understand the concept, or let's understand the things that we're going to build. So we're going to create a Node application. It's going to be a very basic simple one where you can only do create, or you can only create a node, you can update the node, you can delete the node, and you can read the node, right? These are the four operations on one website, or whenever you're creating a website. These are the four operations that we need to have. Yeah, right? These are the things we need to have. So we're creating a node. So whenever we're dealing with a node, either we can create a node, right? Or either we can update the node that is already been created. Either we can read the node, and either we can delete the node that we already have in the database, right? Now, since we're also involving database over here, there are a few things our database table need to have, and that is ID, right? Now, what is this ID? ID basically says that, or let's understand an example point of view. I have a database, and in that database I have a lot of IDs, right? And how do I identify this one ID, right? And to identify, or to make every ID different, we use this ID functionality, or I mean to make every node different, we use this ID as a primary key. We also have this title, so every node need to have a title, every node need to have a description, every node needs to have a created date, right, when it was created. And this color is just a extra feature that I've added. So what this color basically does is, since we literally have a lot of nodes, how do I identify this node, right? Okay, let's make this node as a red color so that I'll know, okay, this is a very important node. All right, and these are the things that we're going to have in our database, right? And so we have node, ID, title, description, created date, and color. All right, so let's go back, or let's go to our Visual Studio where we do our things. You guys can also use Visual Studio Code, but for that you guys need to know about commands, in which how to create the applications and all that. This is the application that I've already created, but we can just remove this because I'm no longer using it. So we're going to create everything from scratch. So let's do that. All right, so we're going to use ASP.NET Core Model View Controller. Let's hit next. And then what is the project name? I'm going to say Note App. And then I'm going to change my folder location. That's probably going to be .NET Code. And let's select that folder. All right, now let's hit next. And we are choosing .NET 8. For authentication type is none. I think in next video we're also going to add some authentication where where specific user can only view their nodes, and we can also add a login functionality and register functionality as well. But in this case, let's keep it to basic. All right, now let's create that. So it's creating our project. All right, so as you can see, our project is created, right? Now, before we go ahead and let's directly jumping into coding, if you guys are familiar with C#, then I will recommend you guys to watch this video as well. But you guys also need to have a little bit of an understanding on how ASP.NET Core MVC works, right? And if you have a little bit of basic idea, then I think you're good to go and go ahead and do the whole tutorial. All right, so now we have a program.cs and we have our app.json. We basically do our connection string over here at the moment. We also have views. Views are something what user will see. We have a model. This model is basically a business model or a business logic. And controllers. Controllers are basically whenever you get any kind of information from the view, it'll go to controller, and controller will go and check for the model and the data, and it'll get all the data and then just send it back to the views, right? So that is the basic concept of MVC. All right, so before we start, let's install some sort of packages. Now this package allows us to do something, right? So now I'm gonna get 3 packages. One will be entity framework core. It's a ORM. So I'm just gonna say ent Microsoft Entity Framework Core, and let's select our Node app and let's install that. Let's apply and let's accept that as well. All right, so now we need Entity Framework Core SQL Server because that's the database that we're going to use. Let's just say Microsoft Entity Framework Core SQL Server. Let's select that. Our Node app is selected already, and now we're just going to click on install. Let's apply that and accept. All right, so Entity Framework Core SQL Server is installed again, as well. And now we're going to install tools. Okay, let's install that. Apply. I accept. And let's wait for it to install. See the packages that has been already installed on our application. Okay, we have tools. All right, we can also go here and then check what other things that we have installed. One is Microsoft Entity Framework Core. We have SQL Server and tools as well. All right, cool. So we have we only need all these 3 packages, and now we can start working on our coding sector as well. Okay, so our project is ready, right? We are starting everything from the scratch. All right, so now let's go to models and let's create a model for nodes. Let's go to class and let's say node. All right, so now we have a class called node. In this class of node, we're gonna create the ID, right? It's basically as it is, like this. Where is it? Here, like this. So we have a node, ID, title, description, created date, and color. So we're going to use all that. Okay, so let's go back here, and then we have ID. We have a title. And string, that should be description. And then we have public date, time, created date. We're also going to get getter and setter, but we can just say date and time equals to now. And then at last we have public string color, and that should be get and set as well. Right, so these are the things that we have. Same as this one over here: title, ID, description, created date, and color. So let's go to our Visual Studio and then just double check everything is fine or not. All right, cool. So now as you can see, we also have this green squiggly line over there. So, and how do we get rid of that? Well, we can just put question mark on this. So it's basically saying that, is it always gonna be color? Well, no, sometimes it cannot only be string, it can be something else as well, right? But for our applications, it should always be a string. All right, cool. So we created our controller, model, and now we need to add some data annotation over here. So now when a user is creating a node, right, I want a title to be must, right? Title cannot be something else. We need to have a title, right? You cannot just not give me title. That means, for example, if you're creating a node and the node does not have title, that does not make sense. What kind of node is it? It is which do not have a title. So that's why we're gonna say required. Take that out. Required. So our title is required. Description is required as well. Color is not really that required, so I'm just gonna leave it as it is. Well, this created date is just gonna be a created date over there, and the ID will just gonna be ID. All right, cool. So I have all of this, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and then I'm going to create a new, sorry, not there. Let me delete that. I'm going to come over here into our project name, say add, and a new folder. In this folder, I'm going to say data. So in the data, I'm going to add a class, and the class name will be application DB context. Let's add that. All right, so we added the application DB context as well. And on this application DB context, we're gonna say that, hey, let's use Microsoft Entity Framework code, right? To do that, I have to say DB inherit the DB context. And as you can see, when I inherit the DB context, it'll get all the things that is on Entity Framework code, right? And now I'm gonna create a constructor. Since I'm inheriting whatever the constructor I'm giving over here, I want the same thing to give to the constructor that is on our Microsoft Entity Framework code too as well. Okay, so now it's basically gonna say, okay, DB context option. In the DB context option, I'm gonna say application DB context and options. Sorry, options. And for the Entity Framework code as well, I'm gonna give you the option that I'm using on this constructor. Okay, now I have that. Now what I'm going to do is now I'm going to say, hey, so what are the models that I can use? The model that I'm going to use is a note model, right? So I'm going to say public db set, and I'm basically going to say note and notes. Let's get in setter, and let's also install or maybe import our class. Okay, there you go. So it's basically saying that, hey, you know what, our database name is note, so that'll be note, and inside the note we'll have different things. That'll be ID, title, description, created date, and color. Okay, and get it and settings. Nice. So everything is looking fine, right? We're using Entity Framework code now. Now our application need to connect to a database, right? Which is this database. This database, right? So now how do I connect this application to this database? Well, to do that, I have to go to application setting.json, and then I have to add a connection string. And the connection string, I'm gonna say default connection, and in the default connection, I'm gonna give that connection string name, right? Let me get the connection string for me. Okay. So I'm gonna copy this and paste it there. I don't think I need this, so we can just take this out. So it's basically server equals to the server name that you have. My server name will be, let me go to SSMS, and this one. Let me copy that, connect to that. So if I click here, this is my server name, right? So let's go here, paste my server name. What is my database name? Node app DB. Well, actually, as you can see, I already have a Node app DB, I believe, because I was creating that. You know what? Let me just create a new query and delete this database over here. Let's execute that. I don't know. It's taking time. So okay, let me just say node app DB conditions true, true server certificate true as well. So we have to use this. And let's go to program.cs. And let's see if this thing, okay, it cannot drop the database because it's currently in use. Okay. You know what? Let's do this. Let me just delete this. Not even delete this. Let me just rename the database name to something else. Node database, node application. TION. application DB, and let's go to program. And in the program, we're going to add a SQL server. Now, how do I add that? Why not? I've already added over here. As you can see, I go builder. So now in the top, you won't see this on your screen. You'll just see like this. And now what you have to do is basically you have to add this as well. Builder service, add database context, right? And the database context, I'm giving this application DB, which is this. In application DB, we have this option. In the option, we're going to use a SQL server, the packages that we connected. And that SQL server asks for us to give a default connection, which is the connection string that is in our app.appsetting.json. And you're going to use that configuration over here as a default connection. The only thing I need to check is the name. Let's go to program.cs and let's paste that. So you need to have something like this as well. Okay. So once you have that, now what you can do is I can go to tools. I can go to NuGet package manager and NuGet package tools. Let's clear that up. And over here, I'm going to say add migration. Let me just say first migration. Let's hit that. Now what it will do, it will basically create a script for me by looking at the node model over there, right? It's basically going to create a script for me by looking at the node model over there. So let's see. Build is started, build is succeeded. All right, so build started and succeeded. Now let's see. We have ID, which is integer. We have title, which is and varchar, that is basically the string for our database. We have description for varchar as well. We have created date, that is basically the date and time, and color will basically be string as well. Okay, that's cool. And primary key will be our ID over there. And as you can see, it also created a folder called migration, and the migration, this is our first migration, and this is just the application DB snapshot. Even over here, we have the same scenario as it was on our first migration. All right, cool. So what I can do now is I can update database. Let's do that. All right, so we have updated the database, and we have created a table called nodes, which is ID, not null identity. It's basically saying that, hey, you know what, this ID need to be unique every single time. We have title, we have description, we have created date and color, and the constant primary key, that's basically saying ID is a primary key. All right, cool. So let's go our database. We only have nodes app DB right at the moment, but we need to have a node application DB. Okay, there you go. Now let's go to tables, and in the tables we have this node over here. Let's select, and as you can see, we have everything that we need for our table. We have ID, title, description, created date, and color. So whenever we create a node, everything is going to be saved over here. Okay, cool. Now, okay, we're done with that. Now let's create a controller. Let's add a controller, and let me name this controller as I don't know. I think I'm gonna say note, or let's just say home. Let's say home controller. Let's add that. And in the home controller, as you can see, we have inherit controller from ASP.NET Core MVC, and in this MVC will also give us this action results and returning the view things, right? And this will basically return the index that is in our home over here. So the fact that it's over here, this basically return this index at home over here, right? Now, what I'm going to do is basically let me run the application once, and let's see what I have. Okay, let's give some time, and as you can see, I have this application running over here. So I have nodes, home, privacy, it's just saying welcome and all that, right? I don't want this. I want to say node app, which is already there. I need a home, right? I don't want this privacy thingy at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back inside this shared in layout. So what's happening over here is, let me just make you guys understand this as well. If I go to home, this as you can see, this part over the top navbar, home and privacy, this is basically the layout part, right? As you can see, home and privacy, it's the layout part. And it has a header, it has a footer, and as you can see in the div, we are rendering the body. Now this body are basically this index and privacy. So whenever I go to privacy, I don't know if it is running. Let's do that again. Okay, let me copy this. I don't know, did I delete anything over here? It should give me the value. I think the reason it's not giving me the value because I do not have any controller there, like this controller. So what I can just do, I can copy this, I can paste it here, and then just say privacy. Save that. Let's run this. Okay, now let's go to privacy. As you can see, now we can access the privacy, right? But now look at the difference. In the home, I have this body here, but the navbar is always that. Price is the same navbar, right? That means this header and the footer are defined in our layout, and the render body are basically this index and privacy. And this home has a controller called home controller. And now if I say home and index, it's going to be like, oh, home and index is going to come to this controller, and this controller will look into the views and say, okay, my controller name is home. Does it have a home folder? Yes, I have a home folder. And my function name is index. And in the index though, do I have any index space? Yeah, I have an index space over here. And it's just going to return this index space over there, right? For the control, for the privacy is the same, right? It's going to be like, oh, do I have a home in the home page? Do I have a privacy? Yeah, I do have a privacy. Okay, the return. You see that first it didn't have a privacy. That means even when I was going to the privacy, and even though that privacy CS HTML file was or were in the home folder, it was not giving me, or it was not showing me that view, right? And this because of this controller, right? So now that's how we added this controller. All right, cool. Now what I want to do is whenever I open to index, which is this, I want to see all the nodes I have, right? So what I'm going to basically do is I'm going to delete all of this, and I'm going to say note all nodes. Okay, and in all nodes, let me see a bootstrap. I don't know if there's any bootstrap, or what we can do is we can basically use ChatGPT. Let's use ChatGPT to create a bootstrap form of ours. Create a card where there is title, description, and color using bootstrap. And let's use that. Okay, I said bootstrap, but I don't know why it's creating a card title or color using bootstrap straightforward. Okay, so it's giving us a bootstrap one. As you can see, there is a container over there. So let's copy this div. Let's go back. Let's paste it over there. And let's see. Since I'm mainly focused on our backend, on our coding part, I'm not going to focus on design part. So I should have that. Okay, I have a card. You know what? Let me just go here. Just a bootstrap card. Let's see what bootstrap is offering us. Okay, we have a title, description, and what are the things that we have? We have title, description, created date, and color. Okay, cool. Let me see. You know what? I'm just gonna use the first one. I don't think we need the image, so let's just copy that. Let's go back here and let's go to my index. Let's delete this and let's paste that. In the image, I'm gonna take all the image that I have over there, and I have a title. This is basically a description. So what I'm just gonna say is Note title, description, go somewhere. I think I'm gonna use this as an edit and delete, right? I think I'm just also gonna be like, okay, you know what, you can also say view, right? The three things that you can do. One is obviously view. I want to view the note, because obviously in the note you can't really, so in that small card you can't show all the description that we have over there. I don't know if we can, maybe, I don't know, not sure. Okay, you know what, this view is gonna be a bit, the video is gonna be long, so I'm just gonna make it short. I'm gonna say edit and let's make it delete. Okay, so these are the, this is the card one, right? So let's go here and let's see. Okay, now we have a note title, description, and edit and delete. All right, I also want a color, right? So what I'm gonna basically do is a card, let's see if I can, let me put this out my own style, background color. Oh, I don't know if this is how we do it. Black. Let's see what happens if it's black. Okay, if it is black, then it's just black, right? Cool. All right, that means this can change. What happens if I make yellow? This should change to yellow as well. Okay, cool. So everything is set up, right? We have title, we have a description, created it. Yeah, created it. I think I have to do the created as well. So what I'm gonna do is basically on our index, I'm gonna add another p tag, and let's say created it, and I should have a created it there. All right, cool. So these are my notes, right? Let's go. So now let's go to the home controller. In a home controller now, I want all the notes, right? Or before even I do that, let's say I want to create all the notes, right? First of all, I want to create a note. Now, how do I do that? How do I do a create function? To do that, I have to say public action result create. And in the create one, it's going to have, first of all, I'm going to say http get, and it's basically going to return, return view, right? So it's basically going to return a view. Now what's basically happening over here is, if there's a create, then I need to have some sort of CSS HTML file. So when I create that, it will go to that file, right? That's what I want. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to add a view, and in the view, there is a view. I'm basically going to say create. Let's add that. Okay, so I have a create one over there as well. Now on this create one, I'm basically going to say your layout, let's see, your layout is basically going to be the layout that you have over there, and then I'm gonna show a form in which a user can create a node, right? So also what I'm gonna do is I'm basically gonna go here and I'm gonna say forms. Let's see if they have some sort of form or not. Bootstrap forms. Okay. So you know what? Let me just use this email address form, and we can edit a few things. But let's see if everything is working or not. So I'm gonna run the application again. Okay, could like to run. No, where are the errors? Okay, let's see again. Okay, so everything is running. Go here. Okay, now let's just say home slash create. There you go. I'm seeing this create form, right? Now I want to change this email address to something else, password to something else, and submit to something else, right? So what I'm going to do is um I have to say what kind of form are you submitting, right? What kind of form am I submitting? I'm submitting a note form, right? So now what I have to say is I'm going to say at the rate model, and I'm going to say note. Okay. Now I'm not really sure if it's going to give me some sort of error, but I do believe it's going to give me some error because I have to use a, okay, it's not giving me any error. All right, cool. Now what I can do is in the label we have email address. In the email address I'm just going to say title. Okay, for this one I'm going to say description. Oh, DSCRRIPTION description, and then we also gonna have we're gonna have color, right? That's what we need, right? Title, description, color. Created date is automatically created, so we don't really need that. All right, that means I don't need this too. Cool. Now this form is basically a method called post, and where exactly is going asp dot controller, that would be our home, asp dash action, that should be our create. And okay, now for the label, asp does for, that should be model dot title. I don't know why it's not giving me any intelligence over here. Let me just go and clean the solution and let's rebuild the application. If that does not work, then I'm just gonna node. Okay, yeah. So as you can see, there are a few problems that I'm getting, but what I'm gonna do is I'm basically gonna restart this application because I want to see the intelligence as well. So let's reopen the project. Okay. Yep, it is giving us the error on the notes, and the reason is basically note app dot models. Then we'll stop giving us the error on the note. Cool. Doesn't know what's happening. So we're giving a title, ASP for title. This input is basically placeholder. I'm just gonna say title, ASP for title as well. Is there any for? I don't think so. Okay. And the small one, I don't really need this. Well, what I can just put is pan. What am I was gonna put? You know what? I'm just gonna say ASP for title. Span, yeah, span. Let me just remove this. It's gonna add automatically. All right. So ASP for title, that's for title. Now we're going to say ASP for description. Let's copy that. Let's go to our input. Let's remove the placeholder to password to something else, and that will be description, and this will be text. I think we can also text area. Let's do that. Because I believe text area need to have a to closing tag as well. All right. And then we have over this one, and in this one, what we're going to do is basically we're going to have color. So input type will be color. ASP4 will be color as well. Let's remove that. Placeholder. I don't think we need any kind of placeholder for this one. And label. Okay. I'm just gonna say color. Okay, cool. And the bottom will be submit, and then we're gonna go to home. ASP controller will be home, and ASP action is a create. So what's really happening over here is I'm basically saying that, hey, you know what? I'm expecting a note, right? Whenever I'm coming over, whenever I create something, I'm expecting to create a note, and then this is and then we can check the note. So like basically saying that this note have certain things, so that it has title and description. So whenever a user gives something, it will assign that title to this title, the node title, and it will also assign this description to this node description over there, and also color. And with all the information that it have, it's gonna go post method to our controller called home. So I'm going here in the home controller. In the home controller, the action called create, right? So now what I have to do is basically I have to come over here. I'm gonna copy this, paste it, http post, and now it's saying was as http post is basically whenever I'm creating something, it's going to this create again, but I'm posting something, I'm adding to something, right? So that's why it's like a polymorphism over here. I have a two method, the same method, but now there has to be some sort of difference, right? Because the responsibility of this method is just to give the view, but this method is to basically submit the information that you have, right? It's get all the information that you have and store it to database. This is the function of this method over here. Then now what I'm expecting a note. I'm expecting a note, right? Now I'm going to create a note. First of all, I'm going to check if model state, if it is valid or not. Now what does this mean? Model state valid or not? As we all know, in the note we added this annotation over here, required and required. So now what's gonna happen is whenever this note, the information is coming over here, that's basically this model state. It's gonna go to that node. It's gonna check is the title is required, is the title there or not, and it's gonna check if the description is there or not. If it is not there, then just say it is not valid and just return the view. But if it is there, then get inside and add that to our application, right? Now what you can basically do is oh yeah, now we need something else as well. Sorry, I forgot. Now I need to have access to database, right? And I'm gonna say private read only application DB context, and I'm just going to say context. And in this application DB context, I'm going to take this context, and now I'm going to say, okay, this context dot mode dot notes dot add, and the node that I have, okay, and the node that I have. Or what we can also do is we can create a var node, just to make sure. Okay, I'm just going to do like this, node new node, and in the new node I'm going to add all the node. I'm just going to say n, and in the n I'm going to say title. That's coming from the node title, and description, that's coming from the node description. I also have a color, that's also coming from the node color. So I'm going to take this node, remember, because this node also have that date and time, right? Because this node doesn't have that. Now what I can just say is I can take this n, put it over there, and it's going to add that node to our database. And if the node is not valid, basically go and return the view. All right, so let's try that. Let's see what happens. Okay, this is basically an example. I'm gonna go here, home, and create. As you can see, I have title, I have description, and I have color. Okay, now let's just say test title, test description, I guess, and the color, let's choose a bit of red color there. I'll submit that, please. Oh, okay, so let's go to our create. It's basically saying that it's expecting an email, but that is not the case. We're supposed to expect an text. So let's fix that real quick. Let's go back and let's run again. So no test title, test description, and the color maybe red. Let's submit that. Okay, now it's giving us problems saying that null and the object reference not set an instance of an object. Oh, let's go back. And the reason it's saying that is because now we have to inject the dependency. Sorry. So what I have to do is basically I have to take this and then I can just say to context. So what's basically happening over here is you need to have a bit of familiar with dependency injection. We're basically injecting over here, right? It's basically whenever you're using application DB, take that that database over there and connect to them as well, right? So now I'm basically injecting that database, the access to database, I guess. And yeah, so now if I create a node, I have a object of a node, and I add a node. Now what this does is basically create a SQL script. It doesn't really save to our database. I have to say context and save changes, and now it's gonna work. So let's go back, submit. Okay, so it submitted, nothing happened, it just submitted. Now let's go back to our database. Let's see what happens over here. Oh, there you go. So these two descriptions that we added, I think I clicked it twice. Let me do it again. It should be 3 now. Yeah, there you go. Now, so everything is coming to our database as well. All right, cool. That's great. Now the thing is, okay, I submitted, but now how will I know if I submitted or not, right? The basic thing to do is basically take them to a home page. So what I'm gonna do is basically on the view, after we're done with this, return redirect to action. That should be index. Okay, so now what happens is whenever I create a node, it will redirect me to the home page, which is this page, right? So let's say home, create, and then I'm gonna say test2, color maybe green, a little bit of green over there. Let's submit that. Okay, as you can see, it just sent us back to our home page. And if I go to our database, I should have that as well. There you go, test2, and the color. Nice. Everything is looking good. Now what I want to do is I want to add a index functionality where whenever I create a node, I want to see that node to my index page as well, which is here. what is happening over here? Now, in this index, I need to get that data, right? How will I get the data? I go to home controller. In the home controller, I have this index. Now remember, this index is basically getting, I'm not posting anything, right? So the thing will be http get, right? It's basically gonna give me, right? It's a get method. So now I need to go to database and I'm gonna grab all the nodes I have and then just send it to my create index. I'll send it to my home index, right? Now how do I do that? I'm gonna say var nodes equals to context.nodes dot to list and yeah. So now I'm basically saying that, hey, you know what, take all the nodes in database and give it to this node. This basically is a var list of nodes, and now when you have that, just send it back to my nodes over here. That's it. It's a very small code. It's literally one code, right? And now let's go back to our index. In the index, I'm gonna go and say model list of node, because remember, I'm getting a list of nodes, right? I'm not getting node, I'm getting list of nodes. I'm getting a lot of nodes. All right, if I'm getting a lot of nodes, now I need to print all the node over here. How do I do that? I'm gonna use for each. So to enable C# in this CSS_HTML, I have to say at the rate for for each var value in our model, I want to print all this, right? Okay, so now the node will be basically value. Oh, sorry, I think it's is it a value? For its data in our model, you should give me, oh sorry, I need to enable C#. So value dot title and description gonna be as well value dot description. Created date will also be there, so value dot created date. I'm gonna say edit and delete, I'm gonna do that later, but now for the background part, I'm basically gonna be like, okay, value dot color. That's it. Let's run the application now. And if I go here, I have all the nodes like this, which is great, right? Nice. So now if I go and you know what, let me also add one thing over here. I know it doesn't look good, but just for the coding purposes, I'm just going to leave it as it is. I'm just going to create a div. In the div, I'm going to create a tag. In the a tag, I'm going to say ASP action. That should be create ASP controller home create node. Let's run that as well. And in the top, we'll have a create node, something like that. There you go, create node, and it will take us to here, right? Let me add a little bit of bootstrap on this as well. btn dot success. Let's run this. Okay, now there's a nice little button that we have over here, create node, and we have title, that, color, and submit. So let's do that. Just test 3. So for example, color, I'm going to choose blue, right? Let's submit that, and there you go, I have a blue one. Cool. Now let's work on this edit and delete functionality as well. So now, okay, so on this edit and delete, when I click on this edit, it needs to send this title, this node ID, right? Because how will I know that this is the node that I want to edit, right? And how do I know that? The only way, the only identifier that can identify a node, a particular node, is node is ID, right? Or node ID, right? So how do I do that? So to do that, I need to pass a ID. To pass the ID, I have to say asp dot route and ID. And over here, I'm basically gonna do that at the rate value dot ID. I'm gonna do it for edit, and then I'm gonna do it for delete as well. Now for the edit one, what we're gonna do is basically I have to create another controller. So let's create a controller, public action result, edit, and it's gonna be http get, right? Because I'm getting the edit file, and then I'm basically gonna return the view. Okay, and I'm gonna go to home page. I'm gonna add a view, and let me add edit. Okay, nice. Now what I'm gonna do is edit. I'm basically gonna copy the same thing that's on our create, and I'm gonna edit. The one thing that's gonna change is the ASP controller from home to edit, right? And from submit to edit. And on our home controller over here, obviously I'm gonna get an ID. So int node ID. So basically what's happening over here is whenever I'm clicking that edit, is basically going to take that ID and come to this edit and take, and the ID that is given, that ID will be stored here, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to say var node, actually it's a node context dot nodes dot foster default, where e dot id equals to the node ID that I have there. I think it's supposed to be node and node. So what's basically happening over here is saying that, okay, go to our database. In the database called node table, check the first and default. First and default is basically going to say whatever the first thing that you'll find, just give me that. Make that as a default and just give me that, right? And I'm using a loop over here. So lambda expression, where I'm checking, okay, all the nodes I have over here, the nodes ID is going to take all the nodes ID. And whenever you see this node ID equals to that, just return that node to me, right? So it's basically going over here. Okay, node, I'm going to check all the node here. And all the node, I'm going to check all the ID, 1, 2, 3, 4. And whatever the ID that I have provided, if the ID 1 is matching the ID 1, okay, and this is the node, then give me all the thing from here and just store it to this node. Okay, that's what's happening basically. Now what I'm basically going to say, if the node equals to, okay, I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is var n, I don't know if I'm right. Let's see. Now I can just say node dot title equals to node ID. Oh, shit. Okay, wait, I have to create oh, what am I doing here? Okay, I just have to send the node here. Okay, I'm just sending a node here. All right, so now I'm gonna, in the edit one, whenever I click that node, everything should be here, right? So let's run the application. Sorry, this is my first time doing this tutorial video, so I'm kind of all around the places. But anyways, we're getting better. All right, so it's running. Okay, it's running. Let's create edit. Okay, so as you can see in the index, it's saying index and 1, right? That's good. That's good. Now let's go to our create one. Index 1. It doesn't really know where exactly to go. As you can see there, it doesn't know. Like, I'm taking the ID, but where am I going? Well, I'm going to tell, hey, you know what? You're going to ASP action, and you're going to our edit page, and you're also going to our controller called homepage. Nice. So it was asking me where am I going because I didn't tell him where to go. Now I'm telling him, okay, you're going to the home controller. In the controller, there's something called edit function. Go there with the ID that the ID that you have. He'll be like, okay, let me go and click edit. And there you go. It's giving me problems over here. What's saying? Unhandled expression, the following location with source. Okay, let's check our spelling. Do I have edit? Okay, so I don't know the problem that I was facing, but what I can do, what I tried to figure it out was, let me just delete the file. You guys can also delete the file that you have if you guys are following me. I even commented out, right? I commented this to out. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click here and I'm gonna add a view, raise a view. Let's add that. And just say edit, and let's get that over there. And let's paste it. Okay. And I have everything of ASP.NET Home, edit, and all that jazz. So let me run this. And let's see. Okay, as you can see, it's working. Now, on the home, I'm just gonna uncomment this. And then I'm gonna uncomment this as well. Okay, let me run it. And all right, now as you can see, it's a red. It's already red, right? If I go here in the title, as you can see, it's the same one, right? That's what you want. All right, cool. Then that means our getting the edit functionality is working. Now I want to change. What do I want to change? When the user change the value, I want that value to be pop in to our controller and then update that value, right? Simple. So what I'm going to do is in home controller, I'm going to copy this, paste it, and I'm going to say post. This is int, but over here I'm going to get a note, and going to be that note. And I'm going to obviously check if model state, if it is valid or not. And if it is valid, then I'm gonna get the note, right? I'm gonna find that note. How do I find the note? I'm just saying as a note dot id. I'm just thinking, do I get when I'm editing a note? Okay. And then when I get that note, I'm gonna change the note title because they're the only thing that I can change. Note dot title and dot description. That should be note dot description and note dot color. Note dot color. And I have to say context dot notes dot update and notes dot save changes. And then if it is successful, I'm gonna redirect them to index. If it is not, just return view. Let me remove this files over here. What I can do is copy that, paste it. I don't know why I did that, but okay. Nice. All right, so we have the note. Now what I'm gonna do is, obviously we're gonna check if everything is working or not, and check that. Okay, now if I click on edit, so this should be our test description. Let's use this one, test2. Let's say test2 updated. There you go, test2 updated, right? Test2 title updated. Test2 title updated. The only thing I need to change is this. I'm just gonna say update. So let's go to our edit, and I'm gonna say update. Okay, nice. So we're updating that as well. Now what I'm gonna do is, now let's work on our delete functionality. For delete one, what I'm gonna do is basically I'm gonna say post delete, delete, delete. It's gonna get an ID and let me remove all of this, and then I'm gonna say var note. I'm gonna say context dot note dot find with the ID, right? And then we're gonna say context dot remove. I'm just gonna say notes dot remove and note, and it's gonna create a SQL script for us. Then we're gonna save the changes, and obviously if it was successful, then it should be removed, right? All right, so basic one, it's not that difficult to understand. And yeah, so let's run this. Go to home. Let's delete this one. I don't know if it is okay. Let me see, 1 2 3 4 5 6 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, something is wrong. Let me just remove all this, man. Oh, now it's heading. It's giving me the same. I don't know what's wrong with this, but I feel like there should not be any kind of get over there. Let's just redirect that. Redirect to index. But I think it did delete the thing as well. So let's see. And let's delete. So is yeah. If what? Maybe null, yeah. How does this find? I don't know how this find works. Yep. It is deleting. Yeah, I know. A lot of things going on. Yeah, it's supposed to be redirect to action. Sorry, my bad. So let's see. Mm, let's delete this. Okay, now it's fine. Okay, cool. Now it's working. So now let's run our application. The application that we created, the CRUD application that took us so long to make, but we're getting there. Let me delete all the nodes that I have. Let me create one. Do homework. Um, I don't know, maths homework. I don't know what to say on maths homework. Math is very dangerous subject. Sometimes I don't like math at all, but you know we gotta do what I gotta do. So let's submit that. All right, do math homework. Math homework. When did I create it? I created it. Okay, nice. Now I can edit this math homework and English and update. I think this one's supposed to be update. Just updated, but okay. And then there you go. And then you can obviously delete. And let's create another one. So what happens? What happens? What happens if I do this? The summit. Okay, nothing happens. All right, cool, nice. Should give me a validation. I think I have to put on this one script for me to add validation, but we'll do that later. And okay, there you go. Test. Let me add that's say match. There you go. So that's how we do it. That's how we edit, right? And there you go. That's where edit is working as well, and delete is working as well. So yeah, so that's a CRUD operation and ASP.NET Core. In next video I'll be adding identity, where a user can where one user can only look at their notes, and yeah, and logging and registration one as well. Thank you so much for watching this video. I know it was a bit of choppy videos, but we're getting there, and yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.